Hello everyone, my name is Michael, aka Hugsy, and today I wanted to do a quick class on colour fill, Procreate. Not just Procreate, but digital art in general, because they're all pretty similar in the way that they work. So you've just got yourself an iPad, you've downloaded the Procreate app, and then you open it up and just boom, you're bamboozled by features, functions, options, brushes, this, that, and you just don't know where to start, and it can be daunting. And one of the main questions that I see floating around, which I had myself in the very beginning, is how do you color fill? Now, if you don't know, you're not gonna know. It's pretty hard to work out. So I thought I'd do a quick video on my explaining the color fills, showing the different ways to drop a color, and then explaining my favorites and why I use the methods that I use. It's not just speed. If you're using a different line brush, you may need to go down a different route to drop color, which I'll explain in full anyway. So let's get straight in, and let's start with the most basic way to drop a color. So I've got a clean mono brush here, which is just, it's the same size all the way around, and you're not going to have no hassle dropping color into line art like this. So if I just sort of go around here in some sort of circly egg shape, I could drop color into that however I like because my line art is clean. So this is where beginners get confused, as they may drop a color in there and it works, whereas they may try a different line art brush. Let's say I was using a pencil, and they may do the same sort of thing. Let's just grab that color and oh, it's not working anymore. I'm really confused. What's going on? So it's pretty simple. If we zoom in, you can see the pixels on these different styles of brushes. This one is quite opaque in some areas, so the color can bleed through. So just dropping that way is not going to cut it. Whereas it worked on this one, you can see, because we got nice clean inked lines. I just thought I'd show you, this is sort of the way that people start out. We want to sort of move away from this anyway. We want to get used to working on a different layer to our line art, as a matter of rule, basically. You could sort of, let's just get rid of that. Get my mono brush back. So the problem is, because we're now on a different layer and we try and drop, we're not staying in them lines anymore, no matter what we do. Okay, so this is the first way to do it. So you could select your line art layer and click reference. Now when we go back to our layer beneath, we can drop. Now my pen hasn't left the page yet. If you look, my pen hasn't left the page. I could go left or right and fill right up to the lines as much as I want. I mean, it's going to be neat on this line art anyway because it's such a clean line art. It won't let you go 100, but it'll let you go, in this instance, 98%. And if we zoom in, we're pretty much flush all the way around. Job done. Great. That's one way, and this is a way that I actually do use sometimes, because if you look, we're on a separate layer to our line art. So we got full control over this now if we alpha locked it, and it's clean. So that's the most important bit. So it's all very well if you're using a brush like this because it's clean. We can use this method. So let's say, for instance, let's say we had multiple things to color. I'm just going to draw some random shapes. See, we have multiple things to colour. Even just something there for just to show you. Because we got that set as reference, we go back to our layer below and we can still just drag and drop and stay within those lines because we've referenced it. See, it'll say reference underneath. That means we're working to that reference, to that line. Okay, so I could drag and drop, and this is a good quick, if you're doing quick clean line art like so, where you've got big bold thick crisp lines, drag and drop is your fastest way to get base color down. Okay, so that's one way. That's one way to do it. Now another way to do it is the old fashioned traditional way, where we select our color and we go around the edges. We go around the edges of our line art ourselves physically. It's more time consuming, but it just gives you a sense in your own mind that it's neater. You know, you've got full control over what you're doing, and it kind of leads you into a sense of security that this is the best way. It's not. It's a long drawn out process, but obviously you get the same end result. See, it's exactly the same end result. So there's that way. There's another way. We can use the selection tool, which is this tool here, and select it to freehand, and we can just sort of go around our line art like so. That was always going to happen. We can go along our line art like so, and just once we close it off at the end there, we can drag and drop. That's another way of doing it. Now this is the method that I use most, as I'm using varying inks and pencils and brushes and stuff, so I find this is the best. The only problem with this is you will find yourself going back over things like this. Oh, it's a pain, but as you get better, you get quicker and more efficient with this method. So that's another way. I just want to show you with a pencil. So let's say we had a pencil and we want that same sort of egg shape. That's not very great. Close that off there. So we want to now fill this. Now let's try and set it as reference, see what happens. We go a layer below and let's drag and drop. It's not gonna, I mean it will, but that's such a low threshold. If you noticed, my pen hasn't left the page and I'm just going left and right. You can alter the threshold in which it bleeds into your line work. So that's as much threshold as we can get there. Now don't get me wrong, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. There'll be other occasions though where that's just going to keep seeping through every time. So reference is always a thought of mine when I'm laying base colours, if my line art's clean. But the problem is with my style in particular, I do a lot of line art where I don't actually close the lines. So, you know, let's say for example I was using, I mean this is my ink brush. You see I'm kind of really varying the thickness of the pen pressures and stuff. I can't just make that a reference now and drop. Just while I'm on the subject, you can only have one reference at a time, so you can see now this is the reference. So I can't kind of drop in there no matter the threshold, you see, because there's holes and gaps, so it's not going to fill. So this is where my process changes, and I'm either doing it physically, drawing it, or I'm using this selection tool and I'm just going around the edges like so. One little tip while I'm on doing this actual method a minute. Let me just get a bit closer to the finish line. So if we go all the way around, you obviously be a lot neater than this. Now, if you look down, there's a feather. Let me just close that off. If we could just add a touch of feather, it'll show you on there. See that little white line? Show you, it'll soften the edges out. So it's good if you are doing this line work, as you don't get the hard, awkward edges which completely missed. So you could just put a 1% on and drop. Take that up to 100%. And this is how I mainly colour fill my pictures, my illustrations, as I feel. Am I on the wrong layer? I actually did colour fill that into there, didn't I? Okay, there we go, same thing. Yeah, so like I say, it is the most efficient way of working, believe it or not, even if you have to go back in sometimes and just do a little bit of tidying here and there. But obviously it's the same principles, we're on different layers to our line art, so we can work with that. So let's go back to our original egg. So we've got our colour on a different layer. Now we can alpha lock this and we can just crack on, not affecting our line art whatsoever. So if I just say go get a nice terminal colour there, say, and just bang that down the middle there, it's going to be our terminal. A bit deeper there for that shadow. But you can see I'm still stuck within my actual egg. For a bit of highlight, I like to use sort of a complementary colour when I'm doing my highlights, so I'll sort of start bringing in a bit of blue actually before I go to white. Yeah, just to make it pop even more. And obviously a bit of bounce lighting, which will always set your work off. It'll just take it up to a more professional level, I suppose you could say. But yeah, that's it, guys. So I just wanted to quickly show you the methods in which I colour fill, colour drop. I'll just quickly go on to something I did actually. I did this picture. Is this the one where I got the layers? Nope. Okay, let's have a look at this. I mean, so what I will do, I'm sort of opening up layers and I'm selecting with the freestyle pen where I'm going to be colouring. I'm always starting from the bottom first so that I can work my way up. So let's say I'm just going to grab all this area. With my style, it's okay. It's not such a clean, accurate style, so I can get away with being a bit loose. That's probably why I like it actually, this style. But yeah, you can see, you drop some colour in there, and now I can just work. I can just work now. See with what I got, and add in my extra colours and blah blah blah. But yeah, that's how I sort of colour my things, guys. So I hope that helps. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I've missed. Is there anything I've missed? Is there any other methods? Is there any other methods? Now, of course, let me just quickly show you that if you was to work as beginners do. They sort of work all on one layer. And then you carry on. Now if we alpha lock that, of course, we're going to be going straight over our line art, which is not always beneficial. So it's like, yeah, you see. So let's try and get used to working on individual layers if you want your line art to stand alone. That's the best way. So just a quick recap then. I'm just going to quickly do a quick face. I'll probably just use my usual brush, just very quick. So let's start with, say, a nose there, some eyebrows there, eyes. Now I know it's not accurate and good, but I just want to show you how I drop the colours into something like this. We could just put a little smile in there. Like so. I don't know who this person is. Kind of just off the cuff drawing, to be fair. And if we just shrink it down, oh, that's not uniform. A bit of hair in there. Right, so when it comes to dropping colour in, I'm going to select my base colour first. That's the most important bit. I can either go in around the edges with this, which gives you a sense of, oh, I'm being very neat, I'm being very tidy, or I can use the selection tool and just kind of get on with it. I like to highlight the whole silhouette first before I do anything else. And then I work from there. Let's just close the bottom of that off. So there's the whole silhouette done. You can see I'm cutting quite deep into the lines. I'm going to put 1% feather on if I can, and drag drop as much as I can, 100%. So there we go, we're separate from our line art and we're coloured in clean, and now we can go ahead. We can go ahead and just sort of render in our picture now without the worry of going outside the lines. This is kind of how I render faces. I like to sort of put the redness in first after the first base colour. Then I'll sort of move on to the lips, say. I like to use a soft brush. Well, I'm just adding some colour variation into my picture to make it look a little more lively. You could even have a little colour variation on the bottom there if you wanted. A little bounce lighting here and there, don't hurt. So I like to do that, and then obviously, you know the rest. Eyes and teeth, things like that. I like to use sort of very light blues and purples for eyes and teeth. could of course just go whoop, and use this if we wanted to, and now we can only colour it within our thing, which is handy if you want to add a bit of depth to certain sides. Yeah, it's just handy. So that's it, and then obviously I build it up from there. You could do the eyes, you could just circle around where you want to draw one eye, two eye. I can only now draw within the eye, so let's just add a bit of variation to this as well with some crazy colours. I mean, eyes have got so many different little colours in. It's usually a good idea just to go mad. Got some colours in there. So we're using a green. What's complementary of green? We're talking sort of reds, aren't we? So I'm going to use like a red for my highlight. I just do that there and that there, and then I'll take that into the white to make it pop. Okay, so that's kind of how I work, guys, and then I'll build up from there. I'll colour the hair in, and then I just add a multiply layer. And I kind of call it done. So I hope it helps a little bit. I just noticed there's a lot of bump out there on the internet, so I wanted to just show you the methods to colour fill, and then try and get across the best methods, the quickest, most efficient methods, which I use. So I hope that helps. Just to recap, I use the S tool for nearly all my colour filling. Sometimes if I'm doing clean line art, I will use it as a reference layer, but given my style, my personal style, I can't get away with that very often, as I leave gaps everywhere. So you know, I couldn't make that a reference and then just drop. It's never ever going to work for me, unfortunately. You know, it would be a lot quicker to just drag and drop. Obviously you've got the physical side of, you could just do it yourself like this, where you've got total control, you can be super neat, and yet probably is the neatest way to do it. But as soon as you get used to your selection tool, you can be just as neat. This just makes you feel more in control. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I hope this is of help to some of you. Please, it means a lot if you could like and subscribe, and follow me. I'm going to be coming up with some more tips. Thanks a lot.